Hi guys, my topic today is chronic fatigue. This is something I have struggled with even when I was a child. Also sleepiness. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but basically I battled falling asleep all the time, even as a kid. So like, excuse me, I was the kid who fell asleep in class, always looking for somewhere to sleep as an adult. I would sometimes need to sleep in my car plenty of times, which could be unsafe at times. Yeah, and just I think I don't know like how much was physical as a child and how much was because I was very unhappy. So like I just happened to have been born into a family where I didn't get my needs met. So no like overt, obvious abuse, right? But also, I did not get my needs met. And so, like, I was not heard, validated, like, taught to listen to myself, trust in me, like, connect to me, really heard for like my thoughts and feelings. This is what I feel that I needed that I just did not get. So I was very unhappy in childhood, did not find that connection to others or to myself. And I think as a child, sometimes I needed like an adult or a friend or, to really help me connect to me. And like, I want to know, like, I wanted to hear, like, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel. Like, oh, you like this? Let's do more of this. Like, I needed help to have a life that felt good to me. So basically, very unhappy in childhood. I won't go on and on about that, but I think it contributed to my chronic fatigue because if you're unhappy, I had a lot of anxiety, if you're firing that fight or flight response all the time, um, it's exhausting, right? And physically not good for you and can lead to chronic fatigue. So yeah, I had that even as a child. Um, and then I had an acute onset of like even worse fatigue symptoms and also chronic pain began about 5 or 6 years ago. Um, Basically, I stood up to my mom for the first time ever in a certain way. And that was, I thought, going to be great. I felt like I did it appropriately, but it kind of backfired on me, of course, right? Like people don't want you to change or, challenge them or whatever. So that happened. And then, like, a couple weeks later, I got shingles. Um, and I did choose to not take a medication for it. I don't remember if it was an antibiotic that was prescribed or what. I just basically had this ridiculously itchy rash on my back that when the doctor finally looked at it, because for some reason he took forever talking to me first before he just took a look. As soon as he took a look, he's like, "Oh, it's shingles." So it seemed pretty clear cut, although I know shingles can be terrible, and mine wasn't. Like it was the most itchy I've ever felt. But that was it. Like I didn't have severe pain or anything. So those two events happened. And standing up to my mom, getting shingles, I don't know if it was related, choosing to not take the antibiotic for it, because I'm like, it wasn't really that bad. Like I'll just wait and it'll go away. Um, but pretty soon after that, I developed these symptoms, terrible fatigue, worse. And my fatigue in my life to that point had already been bad, but it became really, really bad. And I had chronic pain develop. So suddenly I got pain on the right side of my body only. So like a constant headache behind my right eye. This might sound odd, but like nose tension, like and facial tension, where like my face was kind of gripping and tense, and if I put my attention on it, I could relax, but then it would come right back. So it was just like a lot of tension and pain, constant headache, pain like neck, upper back. My whole right side felt totally different than my left side. So I love, if you're out there and you have something similar, I would love to hear about it because everybody has different symptoms, right? Chronic fatigue, chronic pain, super common. But how exactly it manifests in your body is different from person to person. And I don't always hear that from people. Like, there's a lot of commonalities, but I don't always hear, like, one side of my body was totally different than the other. So that is something maybe unique and maybe not. Maybe I just haven't met the people who have also experienced this. But yeah, it was bizarre because I had all this pain on the right side of my body and some like dizziness, off balance, which maybe only makes sense if your halves of your body are feeling totally different. Because my left side felt pretty healthy and all the way down my right side. So, like, my right hand would be like weak. I had extreme cold hands. I know like cold extremities can be very common to a variety of conditions, and especially women suffer with this. But mine became really dramatic, where even in the summer, my hands would be freezing cold. I ended up getting electric gloves to kind of, because it's very uncomfortable and almost painful to have like severely cold hands all the time. So, yeah, invested in electric gloves. Um, yeah, so basically developed just, super severe chronic fatigue where I felt, honestly, I wondered if I was dying. So right around getting to the age of 40, I thought, and I don't think I was being like a hypochondriac, if that's the correct word. Like I literally just kind of wondered without panicking about it, like, am I dying? Like, what is happening? Because when I took myself to doctors as these symptoms didn't go away over weeks and months, um, I just never found an answer. So, like, I went to my primary care and she referred me to neurology, and he had me go through MRIs, which was severely traumatic for me because I did have panic attacks going through, especially, excuse me, especially the MRI for your head. You have to lay down and go into this like claustrophobic thing, and they close this thing right over your face like a mask, or I don't know how to, like a hockey mask kind of thing. It's horrific if are claustrophobic. But I eventually made it through those MRIs, and the neurologist said he saw something called Chiari, Chiari malformation, where I believe your brainstem comes down too far in your neck and can cause problems. He sounded like pretty sure, and he referred me to a neurosurgeon. But when I got to the neurosurgeon said, I will operate on you, but you don't really present like my other patients. And so I thought that was crazy. Like, I'm not going to opt to have brain surgery, which could cause additional difficulties, like it could cause major problems, right? In recovery, if you're not sure and seemingly at all sure. But, it was an intense time because for like a week or something, I thought from the way the neurologist spoke to me, oh, like this is it. This is why I'm having these symptoms, and I'm gonna have to have brain surgery. It was like terrifying, you know? And then to get to the neurosurgeon and he's not sure, and I thought, oh, I don't have to have that. I still don't have my answer, but I'm not gonna get it. And when I followed up with my primary care doc, she was like, "Oh yeah, of course you wouldn't get that." And I'm like, "Well, that's exasperating." To have gone through all of that, and I feel like somebody who was less like natural based, because I'm somebody who's more skeptical, and I, opted to not have the surgery, but like if somebody was getting the same feedback as me who just trusts doctors hands down always, they might have just been like, okay, I'll get the surgery. And that's really sad, and then to get the feedback from my primary care, like, yeah, of course you wouldn't get it. I'm like, well, you could have told me that earlier. Anyway, so yeah, I ran to doctors. I went to the chiropractor. I was always getting my hopes up and then dashed because nothing helped. Primary care sent me to physical therapy. So I tried that, tried chiropractic, and the chiropractor also gave me false hope, like, yes, I think we can help you. And no, it didn't relieve anything. And it was exhausting going to all these doctors. Because I was having like weakness and weird stuff in this hand versus this one felt normal. I saw, I think, like a hand surgeon or doctor, and they didn't find anything wrong. It wasn't carpal tunnel or anything like that. Um, I had a psychiatrist who prescribed Provigil, a stimulant, diagnosing me with narcolepsy because I really was. Also, please let me know, similarly to the right side versus left side difference, if you can relate to this, because I hear people talk about brain fog or chronic fatigue, exhaustion, but I don't hear it talked about exactly battling sleep. So it's literally like my body will go to sleep. It doesn't fully go to sleep like I think narcolepsy would be, um, but it's literally like I'm fighting. Like it feels like I'm falling asleep, and yet I'm trying to function while I'm falling asleep. It's crazy. Um, so a psychiatrist in the past was like, okay, diagnose you with narcolepsy, prescribe the stimulant. But I found that really addictive. I mean, at first I loved it. It was like a high, right? And I had energy, but then I just wanted more and more of it. It became a problem. So I had to drop that. That wasn't the answer. A lot of rest wasn't the answer. I thought, okay, if I just rest a lot, so for a while I was just in bed all the time, on the couch all the time. I remember feeling like, okay, my kids are at school, my husband's at work. Um, if I even, in a little while, I'll get up and push myself to do the dishes with a dishwasher. And like that was a daunting task. Maybe like the only thing I do in a day. It was crazy. I would be exhausted from just showering. So yeah. So, okay, let me switch over to how did I recover from chronic fatigue and chronic pain? And I'm not 100% recovered. I'm still tired at times and still have pain at times, but I'm way better than I was. And I no longer think I'm dying, right? Like I'm living my life actually very fully. And it's very exciting. So I want to share this with you guys in case any of it can help you. Um, Yeah, and with feeling like I was dying, I really did like wonder and think like, should I be getting my affairs in order for my children? Like what? Because things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So yeah, first of all, I learned that resting all the time wasn't the answer. So like laying around wasn't the answer. So then I tried, because I also learned that doctors were not my answer. I didn't have some condition. I had all the blood work, I had all the tests. At one point, also, they found like racing heartbeat. I would wake up out of sleep and my heart would be racing. So I'm diagnosed with SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, but it wasn't considered dangerous. So just live with it. Like saw a heart doctor, everything, had all the tests. I've had sleep studies, like no answer was found, right? So as I decided, doctors are not my answer. And in fact, it's causing me way more additional stress to go to all these doctors. I quit doctors, lost faith, like just stay home, just rest. At least I can be comfortable. Then I realized resting all the time is not the answer either. So I pushed myself. So, for example, my daughter was at a horse farm and I pushed myself to help out there. That's physical work, right? For maybe a couple hours, a couple times a week. And what would happen is I'd feel good about like, oh, I'm out, I'm doing something like cool. But I would crash for the whole day. I'd come home and literally crash, just could barely make it to bed, barely get something to eat, and be exhausted the rest of the day. So that wasn't really the answer either. Not resting all the time, not um, pushing, and then crashing. That pattern wasn't working. Um, yeah, diets were not my answer. I have tried keto, paleo, whole food, plant-based, vegan, like none of the diets were my solution. I do find that eating whole food, plant-based, and including fermented foods is helpful for me personally, but it wasn't like my answer, like my main answer, right? It seems like a lot of people with chronic fatigue, chronic pain who recover or recover a good deal have like their thing, their answer, like what really rocketed them forward. And for me, that was soma breath. But I'll get there in a minute. What other things did I try and started getting me to recover? I did sign up for a program that I don't mean any disrespect to because actually I still benefit from going in and learning stuff from this program. But at the time, it was too overwhelming for me. So that was ANS Rewired with Dan Nofer, and he's awesome. I just was too overwhelmed and didn't get that far. I tried really hard with it for a while, and then I just kind of quit, and that was a pattern for me. Like, I'm a strong starter, and I will quit. um, I tried that. I tried Dr. Pam Popper's program. It was like, I don't know, $500 or something, and about learning how to eat whole food plant-based and just learning things about health. That was too overwhelming for me too. That was also not something that was like my solution. What else did I try? So here are some of the things that did work for me. So I finally hit a point where I just really realized like nothing's gonna change if I don't take more initiative in like a different way. Because I had tried stuff, right? But somehow this was like, no, you gotta try more, I don't know, natural things or something. So something that was helpful to me was a video I think my boyfriend sent to me of Barbara O'Neill. And she was talking about eating a certain way, and I think it was the whole food plant-based. Getting sun in the morning because I was struggling with my sleep. So I was in bed all the time. I'm sleeping all the time, right? But also I was waking up constantly at night. So I developed insomnia. Um, the type of insomnia where you can fall asleep, but then you wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. It's terrible. Um, yeah, so her video was like just the correct bite-sized information that I could digest at the time, right? Because my brain wasn't functioning very good. And so I couldn't do a whole program. Like her video, 40 minutes or something, like do this, and her approach was very matter of fact. Somehow I responded to her. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get sun in the morning, some of these sleep hygiene things to try to get my circadian rhythm going right, be able to sleep at night. Um, some of these kind of things, eating the fermented foods. One thing that really helped me was Raylan, Raelan, Agel, I think is her last name. So she does a ton of interviews that I've been watching of people who have recovered from CFS and other things. And yeah, she had a free thing where you could print it out and just basically keep track. You wouldn't even have to print out her thing. Like you're keeping track of what you're doing with your limited energy. So that was helpful to me. She suggested doing it a little bit. I ended up doing it way longer because it was really helpful for me to see in black and white exactly how I was spending my limited energy each day. And the idea with that is to then look at that and circle anything that's not directly contributing to your healing, your recovery from chronic fatigue, chronic pain. So things like volunteering at my daughter's horse farm, like although it was so great and so cool, it's like that's not directly contributing, and also it was tanking me. So I'd be exhausted the whole day. So crossing out as many things as were like just not directly contributing to recovery. And then really pointedly focusing on putting as many things into my day as I could handle that were. So, that walk, getting sun in the morning, eating fermented foods, eating whole food plant-based. I don't even know now, but I know that video was a turning point for me. Somehow I was ready to make a change at that point. So maybe some of us need to hit a bottom, kind of like an alcoholic, in our chronic fatigue, chronic pain, where we're willing to look at, I don't know, take responsibility and approach it like really like this is up to me, you know? So that was a starting point. And Isha Judd system, that was really helpful, although it didn't really touch my fatigue and pain. It was super helpful in other ways, like releasing emotion and learning how to love myself. So I totally recommend that. It included a lot of meditation. So I think meditation is huge. Um, I got a divorce, and for me, that was important because for whatever reason, I just couldn't, I just needed to be out of that relationship. And so that was part of my healing. I needed to be on my own. I needed to learn to be authentic. I really don't feel that I was in my life. And I have compassion for myself for that because I wasn't raised to do that. It was really like, oh, like what I learned from my mom, for example, was like, no, this should make you happy. It was like her thoughts, her opinions, really very, I felt very enmeshed with that. Like, this is what should make you happy. This is the correct, right thing, on and on. So I never learned to like, I mean, I almost went mute. Like I just stopped talking. I stopped expressing how I really thought and felt because it didn't feel like there was any point because there wasn't any mirroring or validation or encouragement of that. So anyway, later in life, I part of my healing, I think, was becoming authentic and really, um, learning to trust my gut and see that there's nothing wrong with me and yeah, so that was an important part of my healing. Teal Swan videos were very helpful to me, a lot of hers on various topics, um, including becoming authentic. Yep. Um, what else was totally helpful? So there might have been other things like getting the right relationship in my life that was right for me. Like my ex-husband is a wonderful person, and I did him harm by not being an authentic person and then it not working out because of that, partly or in big part. But I did find the person who was a good match for me where I didn't feel that I couldn't be my real self. Like it really was being almost like my childhood needs being met. Like he really has been good for me in my path, my journey towards becoming authentic. So that was part of my healing to have that relationship and support. Um, but the thing that really, really jumped me forward was Soma breath, and I found it randomly in late April 2023. I mean, it hasn't even been a year. It's remarkable, right? So I just stumbled on it, like how you do on the internet. I was actually watching one of Raylan's interviews with a young man talking about, I think, Soma meditation or something. And I was going to pursue that, but this other thing popped up on the internet as it does, Soma breath. And I did some of Neeraj's, he's the founder of Soma breath, free meditations online. And I had this profound experience. So at first it was an emotional release. I remember being on the ground crying, doing it's breath work. So doing this breath work and meditation. But it wasn't just an emotional release because I've had lots of that in the Isha system and otherwise. Like I'm somebody who loves crying now because I see how like it means I'm connected in my heart and I'm releasing stuff. It's great. Um, but there was something different with the Soma breath, so it felt less dramatic. It felt like something physical was falling out of my body as well. So I was instantly intrigued and I just went really fast with it because I'm like, oh my God, like this is my thing. So really quickly I signed up for their 21-day program. That was remarkable in addressing like first of all, learning the breath work. The breath work itself, including breath holding, rhythmic breathing, incredible. And I think It captured me because it's so fun and it feels so good. It's like addictive, but it's a great thing for you. That I couldn't like, I just don't want to meditate today, like I would want to do it because it would make me feel high, but naturally high. So it's amazing. So yeah, I signed up for their 21 day and that was crazy amazing, helping me learn all the breath work but also looking at limiting beliefs, looking at what I want out of life, like really, oh my God, being blown wide open. And just totally suddenly able to jump forward in my life and go forward. Like I felt way more energy and way more joy and way more passion, and I was excited for life. It's basically been like new life for me. It's been incredible. And when that was done, I was so into it that I'm like, I want to become an instructor, and I did. And so now I teach Soma breath classes. Sometimes I put my own touch on them, like I bring my own experience into it, and so then I call it bottom of breath classes. But it's for right now, it's majority Soma breath. And yeah, it's been incredible. So I'm super grateful to that practice, to Soma breath for being the thing that launched me forward. Now all these things came before it, right? So it's hard to say like I don't know, like which things exactly contributed to my recovery. All I know is that when I found Soma breath, I jumped way forward. So that is the thing that I have to attribute um, the most credit to in my recovery from chronic fatigue and pain. So I just wanted to share my story with you guys today on chronic fatigue, chronic pain, and I know it's something that many people suffer from. And in addition to things like anxiety and self-hate that are niches that I hope to help people with since they're things I've struggled with, I also really want to reach out to people with chronic fatigue, chronic pain. I already have one client who says her pain disappeared since beginning Soma breath classes. So, I mean, it's really exciting, really, maybe something to try. So, anyway, reach out if you guys have any questions, want to share your story. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Have a great day.